Greetings, everybody, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My whole purpose here is to try and inspire you to play music every single day, whether it be through singing, playing an instrument, or dancing. I just want you to make music. So today what I'd like to talk about is the healing properties of music, a basic 101 generalization. This is a very deep subject, and I could talk for hours on it. But I'm just going to give you a few basics today, something to get you started in thinking about how powerful music actually is. I actually recorded this video already and didn't realize that my sound was jacked up, so I had a practice run, and I'm going to try to remember everything I talked about in that video. So the term sound healing has become quite trendy. I don't know if you've heard of it yet, but I know that where I live in California, it's become very popular. And during COVID, performing sound baths became a common practice among musicians who were, stuck at home in quarantine. And it was a wonderful thing to be able to share with people, especially, everybody was having such a hard time. And sound healing was becoming popular for a reason, and I'm so glad. But what does it mean? What does sound healing actually mean? The idea has to do with something called the law of entrainment. And in the law of entrainment, the idea is that vibrations will sync up with other vibrations so that they become the same. Or like vibrations will sync up with like vibrations. Sometimes a dominant vibration will, so you might have like a vibration like this, and then I don't know if I can do this. A more dominant vibration will come and they will eventually sync up. That was a poor rendition, but you can actually search on YouTube videos of metronome, where the old-fashioned metronomes, where you can see the one is going different from the other, but then within a few minutes, they're all syncing up together. And it has to do with force. It's a physics thing. And this was, I don't know when the first Westerner realized that this could be applied to sound healing, but it almost doesn't matter, because if you go beyond Western history and you go into the indigenous practices of shamanism, Tibetan Buddhism, ancient Hinduism, Hermeticism, you go into all the ancient spiritual practices and you will find a type of sound healing, or at least sound being used in metaphysical ways. The purpose to transform somebody's psyche or physiology. And so, how does this work with the law of entrainment in our bodies? Well, for one thing, we have a heartbeat, and our heartbeat changes depending on how we're feeling, how tired we are, what kind of stress we're under. And the law of entrainment states that if you have one vibration or a rhythm pattern that's dominating the space, it will force the other to entrain with it. You can try this out by putting a string instrument in front of a stereo and turn it up really loud, and like a guitar or a cello, and turn the volume up really loud on the stereo and play a symphony, something that runs for like 15 minutes. And the guitar will start to tune itself to the symphony, because that's just what it wants to do. It's really interesting. If you've ever noticed that whenever you need to go to sleep at night, the last thing you want to listen to is loud rock and roll music, because it gets your heart rate up and it'll make it hard to go to sleep. You want to listen to calm, new agey music, preferably without any drum beats at all. And that will entrain your heart rate to slow down, and your mind will begin to calm, and it'll make it easier to sleep. So that's a perfect example of the power of sound. The next thing is harmony. Harmonies have an impact on the way we feel, both physically and emotionally. Sounds can affect us both physically and mentally. That's what I'm trying to say. For example, I have a keyboard here, and I'm going to show you two harmonies that have two very different feelings. In fact, there's a fun legend with one of them. The first harmony I'm going to show you is called a tritone. The tritone has been nicknamed the devil's tone, and the legend is that the Catholic Church banned it in the Middle Ages because it was so sinister. Actually, when you hear it, you're going to recognize the sound as being a sound you might hear in a scary movie. But here's a tritone. Here, it's spooky, very sinister. On the other end of the spectrum, we have another interval of a sixth. And a sixth has a very sweet and sentimental sound, and you'll often hear it in movies like Hallmark movies where something very sweet and sentimental is happening, perhaps. Or perhaps there's a bit of nostalgia happening, like somebody is thinking about their lost love, the one that got away, and here's what it sounds. You can really hear that, right? So a harmonic sixth makes you feel sentimental and nostalgic. Some people don't like the way it feels. They're uncomfortable with those kinds of feelings, and you know what? That's okay. But the point is, it does stir up those kinds of emotions. There's also sound that can have a physiological effect. A good example is an opera singer who can sing a pitch at a certain high frequency that will break glass. I actually, when I sing my vocal exercises and I get up to really high note, my dog will start singing with me. I don't know any dog owners watching this if you've ever experienced that, but I've heard that it's actually uncomfortable to their ears, and that's why they sing, but I don't know if that's true. Another example of sound affecting us physiologically is in the destruction of kidney stones. Kidney stones are destroyed by sound frequencies. A specific kind of frequency reaches the same frequency as the stone and destroys it. So that's a really good example of how sound can have a physical effect. And we're physical beings too, so naturally sound can affect us physically as well, even if we may not notice it exactly. In terms of feeling things physically, rhythm is a great way to get a sense of how music can affect us physically. Think back to when you were a little kid and you were not self-conscious about anything. Or maybe you can't remember this far back, but you've seen little kids in the situation where music starts playing and all of a sudden they start dancing. Nobody taught them to do it. They just automatically start moving their bodies. And when I was teaching music appreciation, I would teach this by playing different genres of music. And I would ask my students to and these were 10th graders, by the way, not toddlers. I would ask them just instinctively, what does your body want to do? And I would play rock and roll music. And all of a sudden they would go like, this would be the beat they would do. They would automatically start clapping on 2 and 4. Then I'd play country. And what would they do? They'd start slapping their leg. And then I'd play jazz and they would go. Now, I know you could say that they've seen people do that, but really, yeah, but if you listen to it, you will also instinctively feel it. You will want to do that. But that's a really good example of how music, the rhythm of music, can make you feel a certain way physically. So I could go a little bit deeper into key signatures and key changes, which are great areas to explore. But I really just wanted to give you a generalized sense of how sound affects the body and it affects the mind. Because I want you to start thinking about this, because we live in a world that I feel does not fully appreciate the power of music. Music is just seen as this passive form of entertainment. It's not seen as valuable in terms of being a priority in school, which just horrifies me to no end. And I think it's something we need to start considering how important music is, not just for our learning capabilities, but for what it does to us physically and mentally. We live in a very stressful time. We've all experienced very difficult experiences in our life. We all have our own set of traumas that we're always trying to work through. And music can be an incredible aid in healing from difficult experiences. It can be an assistant to healing from really big traumas. I mean, like really big, scary stuff that haunts you and that makes life difficult to navigate. And it can also help you with day-to-day stressors, like driving in your car during rush hour. Turn on some calming music, and it will make the ride so much easier to get through. Difficulties with relationships. Turn on some music that makes you feel happy. Turn on some blues music. I find jazz to be incredibly medicinal. When I get overwhelmed in life, I will make sure jazz is playing through my house 24/7, and I find it immediately changes the atmosphere. It neutralizes the environment. I don't feel sad. I don't feel happy. I feel neutral. And that's why I love jazz music so much. So I hope this has given you something to think about. I hope you will consider taking your music choices seriously, considering how the music you choose will make you feel in the end. I hope you will consciously choose music that makes you feel good, that makes you feel empowered, inspired. I hope you'll say no to music that makes you feel bad. Why would you do that to yourself? I hope that when you play music on your instrument and when you sing, you choose music that elevates your mood, that makes you feel better physically. I hope this helped, and if it did, please subscribe and like, and also please leave a comment. I am really excited to share more information with you in the future. Hit the notifications bell so that you see when I post my next video. Have a great day.